Lunk. Everyone's always flexing about blockbusters, those shiny safe hits that pack theaters like a protein shake packs muscle. What about the defiant few that kept the block intact? These films didn't just flop, they gobbled down failure and asked for seconds. Some were so bad, they basically are cinematic war crimes. Others clawed their way back to cult glory. Tonight, we're celebrating 5 movies that laughed at the box office and flexed at history.
Bro, why brag about movies that tank? That's like me starting a conga line at a funeral. I just want explosions, babes, and popcorn, not some artsy crash and burn sob story.
Wrong, Lunk. These flops are the ultimate underdogs. Some crashed harder than a 10-car pileup. Others rose like a phoenix, rising from the jaws of Hades. Leave the popcorn. Take your Ziploc bag of hard-boiled eggs as we salute those cinematic warriors who are about to die. First up, Howard the Duck. This was the very first Marvel movie ever made, and George Lucas used his post-Star Wars influence to push it through. Originally, it was supposed to be animated, but Universal forced it into a live action because of a contractual agreement. Huge mistake. Animatronic duck suits weren't convincing, and the tone was bizarre. Part sci-fi, part comedy, part romance. None of it quite worked. Lucas burned a ton of studio goodwill on this one, and when it flopped, he had to sell off parts of Skywalker Ranch to make up for the financial loss. No one got fired, but it nearly torpedoed Lucasfilms. Despite all that, it developed a weird cult following.
Why was Lucas so hell-bent on getting this through? I mean, a wisecracking duck spitting game at the lady from Back to the Future. Come on.
Probably for the same reason he slathered Jar Jar Binks all over the Phantom Menace. He was drunk with power. Bomb rating 4 out of 5. Hulk rating 2 out of 5. Big Trouble in Little China was John Carpenter trying to make something totally unique. A blend of kung fu fantasy, comedy, and action starring Kurt Russell. What audiences got was a trucker getting caught up in an underground world of Chinese magic and martial arts. The studio, Fox, didn't know how to sell it. Was it a comedy, a fantasy, a satire? To make things worse, it was released just weeks before Aliens, and it got completely buried. Carpenter had also designed it as a parody of the typical white savior narrative. Jack Burton isn't really the hero. He's just a loud bystander. But viewers didn't get the meta commentary until years later. The studio got cold feet with Carpenter, but now it's a cult favorite with screenings and cosplay galore.
Look, they just couldn't leave well enough alone and dropkicked whatever hit potential the flick had right into the gutter.
The call is coming from inside of the house. Bomb rating 2 out of 5. Cult rating 4 out of 5. Super Mario Bros. Was the first ever video game adaptation, and nobody really knew how to translate a game into a movie back then. The project started as a colorful kid-friendly fantasy, but once production began, the tone was drastically changed into a gritty, dystopian mess that resembled Blade Runner more than the Mushroom Kingdom. The directors clashed constantly with the studio, rewrote the script while filming, and morale was so low that the lead actors were reportedly drunk on set. What came out was a confusing, tonally inconsistent film. The director's career took a hit, but the film found ironic love in the 2000s, and now has a niche cult following.
Cheese and crackers, put it out of its misery already. I need a drink just thinking about this dumpster fire of a premise. Look at its face. Kill it with fire.
They won some ground back in the end, but I guess every dog has its day. Bomb rating 4 out of 5. Cult rating 3 out of 5. The Adventures of Pluto Nash was a sci-fi comedy starring Eddie Murphy as a nightclub owner on the moon. Sounds wild, right? But the movie had been in development hell since the late 80s. It was rewritten and repackaged over a dozen times before finally being made in the early 2000s. By that time, Eddie Murphy's comedy star was faded, and the film had no real direction. Worse, it was shelved for a full year after being completed, which is a huge red flag in Hollywood. When it finally hit theaters, it landed with a silent cosmic thud. No cult following, no revival, just one of the biggest box office disasters of all time.
Never even heard of this. And I guess we know why. This picture was a carcass buried deep, and all the guys involved swore a blood oath to never talk about it again.
I know what you did 30 years ago, Eddie. You can't run from the truth. Bomb rating, 5 out of 5. Cult rating, 0 out of 5. Fight Club is now legendary, but when it dropped, it hit like a dud. Fox marketed it as a gritty action movie about underground fighting, but that totally missed the point. The film was a brutal satire on consumerism, toxic masculinity, and identity, which didn't play well with the 1999 audience. Test screenings were so divisive that some studio execs wanted to shelve it. In theaters, it bombed hard, but the DVD release changed everything. It became the #1 selling DVD in 2000, and college dorm bros made it a generational cult classic. A misunderstood masterpiece turned into a cultural landmark, thanks to home video.
Brad Pitt's shredded physique put a lot of guys on notice and got him in the gym. Fight Club is an acquired taste, but there's no other flick like it. We truly live in a society. Right, Constantine?
Sure, Lunk. Yeah. Alright. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Bomb rating, 2 out of 5. Cult rating, 5 out of 5.
So we got a duck disaster, a trucker wizard brawl, a plumber dystopia, a moon club meltdown, and a soap-fueled fight fest. Bro, Hollywood's wilder than Gary Busey's teeth. Why brag about these flops?
Because they're the ultimate swole rebels, Lunk. Howard, Mario, and Pluto were infested with issues. They belly flopped hard, and everybody knew it. Big Trouble and Fight Club, they turned failure into immortality. Cult classics that flexed harder than any blockbuster. These films kept the block intact, bro.
Wow. Every endeavor starts with the spark of courage to go into those dark places that few dare. Most of the time, that leads to really awful movies. But sometimes, you stumble on solid gold that isn't unearthed until your random coworker you don't even like recommends it to you on DVD.
Dang. That's a deep dish pizza. Cooking in a submarine. Laying at the bottom of the ocean. Of my soul. Tune in next time. We're always saying deep stuff and things.